Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS. Through Zoom, we are talking with State Senator Mark Messmer, and as you see, he's got a nice background of the State House behind him. Senator, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you again. I'm actually in my bedroom, but this background looks much better. So we thought we'd go with that this week.
That works out well for us. Well, let's talk about some of the bills that are going on. There's 3 bills that you were involved in that you had a good week with.
Yep, absolutely. The first bill that I was a co-author on was Senate Bill 5, and what that bill does is it allows if a local health department during a state of emergency, has an enforcement action that they bring on somebody, a fine or a stop work order, it gives that person the ability to appeal, that enforcement action to the county commissioners. At least in 90 of the 92 counties, it'll be the county commissioners. 2 counties have a little bit different makeup, where the county councils are the legislative body, and 90 of the counties, the commissioners are the legislative body. So it allows you to appeal that fine or that closure order, to the commissioners. And I spoke with our local commissioners and said, are you guys okay with that? And they said, actually, yeah. They said we appoint the members to the health department. From various segments of the population. There's different groups that have to be represented on the health department. They choose their health department, their health officer. I guess the commissioners give an approval to a tacit approval to, but they really don't control anything that they do. And what this would allow is if and the cases the situations that came up were really pointed out that you need, and my thought on the finding process is we need somebody who's elected to have some type of oversight over actions of a non-elected board, actions of a non-elected health officer. My gut feel is and I know what this will do when the health department issues basic, different types of enforcement, policy. It's going to require them to be collaborative with the commissioners to make sure, that they are, on board with that, that degree of enforcement action or that degree of policy. And if they are in sync and there's an enforcement action, the commissioners can deny, the appeal right out of the gate, or they have up to 30 days to decide to schedule a hearing to vet the situation. And an example, a simple example, back in April, May last year, when the first shutdown orders for businesses had come out, and there was a local flower shop in Salem, and really every flower shop in Salem or Washington County, their health officer decided he thought it was unsafe for them to even do curbside pickup of flowers. And he shut down all the flower shops, when the governor had allowed them to reopen for curbside in April. And he said, no, Mother's Day weekend coming up, you're not going to sell any flowers. Well, you could walk into any grocery store that had them, any Walmart that had them, and buy those same flowers from, the big box store. That was safe. But the local flower shop, could not, and there was absolutely nothing anybody could do about it. The commissioners have no ability to say, that's a little extreme, that's unnecessary, and thousands of businesses were put out of business last year during the shutdown orders. Some of them, just the delay in business alone for a couple months was enough to stop them. But sometimes it was examples like this, where 92 counties, 92 county health officers, some did a great job. I did not have any concerns with our local folks, but even our commissioner said, yeah, it might be nice to have a check and balance and have somebody answerable that is the elected representative of the people. We live in a representative republic, and that whether it's a city level, county level, state level, national level, and we like, as the people of our state and country, to have somebody that we've elected, to have the final say in how we're treated. If they agree with the health officer, then that's the end of the discussion. So that passed 46-7, a good, strong bipartisan bill, and now it's off to the House. So the second, two of the bills that I was the lead author on one was Senate Bill 271, just the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, annual update bill, very simple stuff in it. One dealt with if a business had a water pollution control device, on their industrial operation, they had to submit that to, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, for them to review it to make sure it was a valid business personal property tax deduction. There's no other thing in society that is done, whether you're an agriculture operation, whether you're an air permit, on an industrial operation, none of the air permit, equipment has that step in it. Nobody can really answer, why that step was in the, in the law. It gave them 120 days to review it and then send it back to the assessor to be carried out. So we're just striking that 120-day, IDEM review time, because they said that we just really don't, we don't validate them. It's a business personal property tax question, and that's really a local government issue to be decided by the, by the assessor. And the normal, there's appeal processes and everything's still in place. And I mean, it'll just happen like every other business personal property exemption of every other type under the book. That passed 47-0. And then a bill that I worked on 2 years ago, for all private contracts. It's a clause called duty to defend for engineers that sometimes general contractors made them pay for their defense costs if there was a construction issue where there's a lawsuit in play. The duty to defend clause that started popping into contracts about 8 to 10 years ago allowed them to require the engineering company who has not been listed as at fault. If there's an omission, a faulty design or active omission by the engineer, they are clearly able to be brought into the lawsuit. But when they're not a party to the suit, this duty to defend clause that started popping up in contracts required them to pay for the defense cost of the owner or the general contractor when they're not a party to the suit. And we struck that down, for all private contracts, whether it's a private contract on public work or private work. And the Indiana Department of Transportation has had that law in place since 2008. And so that the Indiana Department of Administration, and they own the buildings like the one behind us there, they are the landlord of all, state government buildings. They've decided that they wanted to continue that practice. So we made it clear that the bill that we passed, Senate Bill 230 that we passed in 2019, does indeed apply to, those public buildings, just like NDOT has done on all the highway projects since 2008. And that passed out of committee unanimously last week and passed off the floor unanimously this week. So very, very happy with that.
And then there's another bill you wanted to talk about having to do with nursing facilities.
Yes, so Senate Bill 202, and it passed unanimously as well. If you have a family member that's dying, and it requires them to establish visitation procedures. Some nursing homes did, some didn't, but it requires the State Department of Health to issue safety protocols on how to do that, and requires nursing homes to allow visitation what they call it for compassionate care. I mean, the discussions on the House has been supportive on a similar bill that they've got. I mean, it was a strong, unanimous support out of the Senate this week, and very, very pleased to see that go into effect. I mean, everybody in our community has had somebody or knows somebody who's been in a nursing home and was in that situation during 2020. And it's just, I mean, it's tough to not be able to have closure with your family member in those final days. And needs to be done. And there was really nobody that spoke in opposition. The nursing homes were even actually supportive, of it in committee. So it's a good bill. Glad to see that moving along. One little issue that came up this past year from the decline of fuel sales in April and May. There was a big dip in state highway funding, and then some of that gets distributed down to the local level, and to try to compensate for their offset in losses that they had in fuel tax revenue. they're required now to spend what they call the motor vehicle fuel tax, 50% on roads, 50% on overhead or maintenance. And we're going to allow them to shift that to 60%, for maintenance if they need to for this next 2-year period. And that passed unanimously on the floor as well.
Okay, so now we reach the midway point, and so we start seeing some bills being passed fast and furious.
Yes, we'll wrap up. We'll finish our committee work on Thursday next week, and the following Tuesday we'll wrap up, voting on all Senate bills. And it has been fast and furious. Oh, and Senate Bill 1 did pass on Thursday on final passage in the House, 72-21. So we'll bring it back to the Senate on Monday. They did a couple of slight amendments to it, that I had worked with the House sponsor all the way through to make sure it was exactly where we wanted it. And we'll do a final concurrence vote on Monday, and the governor will very likely sign it on Tuesday, and it'll go into law. Will go into effect immediately, and it'll be retroactive back to March 1st of 2020.
All right. Well, thank you very much for once again taking the time to talk with us about activities in the state Senate. We have been talking with State Senator Mark Messmer. Once again, Senator, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Look forward to next week.
All right, folks, thanks for listening to 18 WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.